Okay, and we're back from our final break. Now we will be just doing R for the rest of time. No more breaks now. No, this was our last one before the end of this workshop. So we're going to try to finish on computing some new variables. We will talk about running correlations, t-tests, and maybe some linear regressions or ANOVAs as well. See what we can get in this time. And always feel free to reach out to Kate or I afterwards. You can get us at the can_grad or find us on Twitter. I think our handles are in the bio of You Can Grad School. So we'll do that. Just look it up. You got us. We are going to keep up this, you keep using this data set. So after merging data, we're going to keep that moving forward. We will most likely, to make things a little bit more straightforward, we'll use this. Let's see, what would we like to use? We can use one of them. We'll figure it out what we want to do. One of the things that would be helpful is understanding how to compute a new variable and what that looks like. So let's take a look at some of the data sets that we have. Why don't we stick with we haven't quite looked at this potential data set. So let's take a quick look at that and what that all looks like. Maybe we want to compute a new variable in there. So it looks like, okay, maybe not. Wasn't really sure what to expect here. I thought it was going to be something more exciting, but nope.
Wah, wah, wah.
I know. Make world better %. Does that mean you make the world a better place? I don't know.
It means you're probably not going into finance. Sorry, just kidding. No one here is in finance.
We don't know that. And now we have completely cut off our whole finance demo.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Let's see. Now I'm just let's look at the complete data set. Maybe we can think about, we can take the degree length. So this is tuition per year, and maybe we want to compute the total year. And so we can do that, and that will hit a couple things that I think is important to know from looking at this kind of data and how to convert this to be used as a number, and then computing a new variable. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we're going to be continuing with this complete data set. So just for, again, keeping it simple, just having those so that we can switch back and forth to view it as we move forward. So let us go on down here. And again, if you haven't already, make sure that you have run this complete full join tuition potential by the items that we indicated, because this data set here is what we'll be using moving forward. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new code chunk. And why don't we name it, put a space after the R in the curly brackets, and say compute variable. And the first step that we're going to want to do is identify if it's a 2 or a 4-year college. So I'm going to just put a comment here, identify 2 or 4-year college. Because if we were to look at the descriptives of the, there we go. If we were to look at the descriptives of this particular variable, that it would probably give us back nothing, but we can take a look at what that is. We can again use that describe function from the psych package, and instead of getting a descriptives table or items for every single variable, we only want it for one. And the way to do that is to first say what data set we want, and then use the $sign, and then we can either keep typing because we know what it is, or you can just search through here to find the degree length variable, degree_length, And if we run that with Control Enter, it's going to give us back and say, like, you know what, it's a non-numeric argument and it's just not going to work. I can't do this. So it throws up a bunch of errors and you're like, all right, I know. Let's figure out what this actually is. So what is degree length? And one way to, I'm going to comment that out because we won't be using it. It doesn't give us anything right now, but we might return back to it. The way to look at the structure again, so this is like what kind of variable it is to use str. And again, we need to tell it what data set we want to use, and then what is the name, name of the variable, degree underscore length. And we run that with Control Enter, and you can see down either in the console or right below, you're seeing what kind of variable it is. So CHR stands for character, meaning that this is just a string of letters and numbers, and you can't really make much sense of it. We need to convert it now into a number that we can actually use. And one way to do that is to set it as numeric. So there are different ways to convert variables. One of the ways is what we'll be using and how I've typically gone about doing it. If you do find another way or you think I'm doing it incorrectly, please let me know. That would be great for me to know differently. The command that we're going to be using is we need to assign the new variable to something. So just like within, it's similar into SPSS, maybe if you're familiar with this, but when you hit compute new variable, and do you want it in the same variable or do you want to give it a new variable? And we just want to convert this degree length variable into itself. We want to keep it there, or if you want to, let's make it into a new variable. So to make a new variable, we are actually just going to say the data set. We're using the complete data set, and then we use the $sign again, and we can just type what we want this to be named. So I'm going to say degree underscore NUM for numeric, and I want to assign something to that. And what I want it to assign is as dot numeric. And then we want to tell it what do we want to turn into a number. We want to turn this up here, the complete. So complete $sign degree underscore length. We want to turn that into a number. And when we run that, it's going to say that it introduced missing values. And let's take a look and see what that actually did. So we added a new variable, which is it automatically puts it all the way to the right. And we see that it introduced NAs for everything. It's like, I didn't know what you were trying to ask me, so I just did it for everything. And that's not helpful for us. So we are going to go to Google, and just so that we have everything together, we'll be able to take a look at this. So so character to number in R is usually what I'll search for. And let's take a look at that first one and see it's saying to just do what we did, which didn't end up working. So then we might have to do something different. And oftentimes there are other ways to convert information into different types of data, and one of those is using a factor. So we can change it into a factor, which is basically a categorical variable. It can be 1, 2, 3, or 4, and they're just these different categories. And if we do that first, so I'm going to comment this and say this one didn't work, because just by itself it didn't give us what we wanted. We wanted to have it give us a number of 2 and 4 for each of those, because we don't want to go 3,000 times and change that. So if we were to then take this same structure, I'm going to say complete $degree underscore num as dot factor, complete $degree underscore length. And so that runs. It's taking each of these. So when it says 2 year, that's one factor. When it says 4 year, that's another factor. And when we look at that, I'm again just viewing the data. We're going over to complete, and it just did that. Yes. Okay. Now we need to, let's see, now we should also then convert. So we have to, it's like a series of steps. And first you need to convert it to a factor, and then you can convert, you should be able to, and what I have done in the past is convert that factor then into a number. So let's see if that works. I'm just using that same line and putting as dot numeric, and then as dot factor, and then the complete degree length. We have to include another parenthesis because that one got lost. I'm running that again using Control Enter. Let's take a look then at our complete data set. And you can see now we have a number, which is, we're making progress. You should be excited. I can't see anyone's faces except for Kate's. Kate's very excited. If you're at home and you're doing this later on, this is an exciting thing. Now you're getting that next component, and now you're seeing changes, and this is what learning R is making those incremental steps, seeing what can be changed, why things are being changed the way that they're changed, and then moving from there. Now what we can do, we have the factors, we have each of these. We know based on comparison, we can see here, we can go back up to, let's get descriptives of this. So to get descriptives of our new column, we're going to do describe complete $, and we are using degree underscore numeric. Running that with Control Enter. We do see that there is a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 3, which is interesting. There must be some other factor in there, because I thought there were only 4-year colleges and 2-year colleges that we had in the data set. So that makes me think that we need to just like take a look at that, and we can do that by going to the complete data set and then sorting. Again, I'm just clicking on degree underscore num. We see that there is 1 3, and if we scroll over, I want to see what is that related to, and it looks like there's some other degree length. So that's not, that doesn't help us. That's not something we want to necessarily include. I apologize if you go to University of North Texas at Dallas, but it doesn't count in this current data set. Now we want to recode variables, which is also another thing that is often in psych data sets or other data sets where you need to recode the values in some way. And there have been lots of different ways that I've tried to do this, and we'll try to see if I can. I always have to search for this. So searching for recoding values in R. This recode, let's take a look at this, because we've been liking dplyr for some time, and it has done a good job for us. So we can recode. I usually automatically go to the examples and then see where the code is and where we're looking at this recode function and what it all entails. So it looks like there was a character vector, which they had right up here. They created a sample of that and then recoding the letter A with apple. So we can give that a try. I have had different... Oh, there we go. Let's see if that works. I'm just scrolling down to an example about numeric values. And it looks like they created a list of numbers and then tried to rename the number 2 with 20 or 40. So let's take a look at that and give that a shot. And let's get that up and off to the side so that we can see both of these. And now we want to run the recode function, but we want to put it back into our complete data set. That's why we have to have this assignment operator. If we did not assign it to something, then it will just spit it out at the bottom and you won't have that data set to actually work with. So we're going to go here. We're going to say we want to recode our complete data set. And let's see, this is where it gets, I find these dplyr pieces a little bit tricky, because when it's being presented here, it seems like we can just do complete and then say we want to change the 1 to be, what was it? That was a 2-year college, and then 2 is a 4-year college. But what this is actually going to do, because we didn't specify just that one column that we want, this will look to the entire data set and change all of the 1s to 2s and 2s to 4s. But let's see, and this might not even work because it doesn't recognize. You might notice here in the dplyr, it has backticks around the numbers, and usually that's a way to show, like, look for the number and focus on that. For some reason, you need backticks around that to just identify it as a number. Yeah. So this is often where it gets tricky in research that we do. This recode function is helpful for potentially like single columns or single items, but oftentimes we have to recode an entire measure. Let's see if we specify the variable that we made. So I'm saying complete $, and then we'll say degree num. So that looks like that may have worked. Let's take a look. And it just gives me the list of 2 and 4. And that was because I just added, I wanted that and I assigned it to the entire data set. So what we want to do actually is say complete $degree underscore num. Let's see if this will work. Nope. So then it's back to checking out recoding. Again, this is what coding in R will look like for you and can look like for you. That it is trying things out, seeing what works, seeing why they don't work, and then going back to it. So now I am, for some reason, recoding is always a tricky, yeah, we don't need to be using that. Kate, do you have any recoding of variables tricks that you've used before?
No, I've mostly had experience with like using the if else function or um, using just the like recode as factor. And if something doesn't work, usually it's because I need to recode it as a factor.
Yeah, this is one that I'm like thinking of a project that I did where I had to recode lots of data, and I would go back to that, but I want to see if there's something that we can find ourselves, and if not, then we'll have to do something just a little bit more straightforward so that we can get to these next. If I can't find it in the next couple of minutes, we'll move forward.
Any questions that are currently answerable or potentially answerable while Dustin is searching, I could perhaps maybe answer them. Aggie did have a question that is, can you have R identify the observations that have that funky value, like the 3?
Usually it's through doing descriptives or having doing histograms or things like that is where you find like, oh, I would expect there to be 2 values, we're getting a third, and it just seems odd. When things become like off or funky or wonky, like that is us placing some value on the data itself, where R is apathetic to what is correct or incorrect. But good question. It's more of like yeah, it there might be someone who's written a program that does those types of evaluations, but really it's you needing to place that extra, like, let's do descriptives, or let's do this next step to really get at that. So one thing that we'll be doing, I'm going to comment this one out because that is not working. What we're going to do is just we'll continue with the computation that I was going to do without the recoding, just so that we have that information. And this is going to be like total cost is what we're just going to multiply our, like, how many years to how much it is per year, and so that you have at least how to compute a variable and know how to do that. We're going to say that we want, in our data set, we are going to create a new variable by saying complete $, I'm going to say total cost, total underscore cost, and then use a assignment operator. And it is very straightforward at this point, where then we are taking the complete, again, it can get a little annoying and needing to write the data set each time, but it is just, again, making sure that you're very clear about the steps that you're taking, where we want the complete degree underscore number, and we're going to use the asterisk as a multiplication sign. It's on the 8. And then we want to multiply that by degree, or the tuition, we'll say in state. Why is that not coming up? I'm trying to find the name of that because I've already forgotten. So I'm going to go down into the console and do names complete. Yes. Anybody have an idea of what's going on? Why am I not able, or are others able to identify names and the components of complete?
Isn't it because you made complete the earlier was changed as a data set? Like you need to run complete for your full data.
Yep.
Okay. Did anyone else run into that issue? Sorry, I wasn't sure whether you actually knew or you were asking for. I was being a real nerd. I was holding my hand up to support it.
You got it, though.
Level.
So in one of these trials down here, when I tried recoding, it was not liking what I was doing. So it actually made complete, and this is what we were talking about earlier, where being careful about what you're naming things, and what ends up happening. So this is, yeah, we wrote over the actual data set. So we need to come back up and run this line again, the complete data. And then that makes me think that this one might actually end up working. And so if we here, let's see if we run this again. Nope, so that didn't. I thought that was going to work now that we had the new data set actually, but it didn't. So let's go up. It looks like it didn't alter it, but I like to just make sure. I'm going to comment that out again. And then here we are going back to the names and say names of complete. And then we have, we'll say in-state tuition. Okay, let's see. What is... So I'm getting an error. It is saying that it can't replace anything because it has 0 rows, which it might be the case that we need to, let me look at complete. Sometimes you need to say that you want a variable. No, it is also because we didn't, when I reran the complete data set, we didn't do this. So there was no complete degree number in there. And I accidentally ran describe again, so we can look at our descriptives. But now we can actually run that. Now that we actually had all those pieces, so it was saying that something was missing. And what I did is I looked at the complete data set to see what wasn't there or what was there, and realized that I didn't actually have that variable in there yet. After doing that, we're able to see and have a computation of that. So how you can compute a new variable based on that. It might also be good to look at your data set before you do this, because I think this is, well, no, now that doesn't make sense. I thought that this was, I thought in-state total meant how much you would be paying in-state total, or no, that is just room and board plus in-state tuition per year is in-state total. I thought it was how much you would pay in total if you were in-state over the 4 years that you were there, but it's not. So that is how you can compute variables if you need to compute or use a basic computation. I will try to find that recoding information that I had before and get that to you all. With the last little bit of time, do we want to prioritize regressions, t-tests, or correlations to walk through? And I'll include the rest as just like code that you can take a look at. We got 1 regressions and there's an exclamation point, so that means that I'm into it. So to do a regression, we are going to do, I'm just going to add another code chunk, again, just to keep things a little bit more separated for us. And let's title this regression. Ooh, and spell it. Wow. Too many S's. Too many S's. What is going on? To conduct a regression, so if we are to take a look at our complete data set, let's see, what would we like to predict? Maybe we want in-state tuition to predict, I don't know, mid-career pay. Let's say that. What we're going to do is you can run a linear regression. You don't need any additional libraries for this, which is nice. Linear regression is just written as LM, so linear model, parentheses, and then what I really like about using R is you have to be very explicit about the actual formula to the line. So when you run a linear regression, you are trying to fit that line to the data. And what we're going to do is we want to, let me again pull up names because I can't remember anything right now apparently. We are going to want to predict, so this is thinking about how you write the equation to a line. What you want to predict, or your outcome variable, is always on the left hand side. So we want to predict mid_career_pay, and then you use a tilde, which is shift, and then in the top left of your keyboard, tilde, right? Or squiggly. You can say squiggly. And that, then whatever you want to use to predict that variable goes on the right hand side. And we are saying that we want, let's say degree length. And then now if we were to try to run this, it would be incomplete because it doesn't know where to get this information. So we have to say data equals, and then wherever we're getting the data. And if you want to put extra spaces in here, that's okay. It's up to you. And if we run that, then we are not getting a whole lot. So it tells us what our coefficients are. We should be able to get, usually what you want to do when you are running statistics is assign this to a variable. So usually you can name it like regression 1 or have some specifier to let you know what it actually is. Then you assign that. So you would run that again to assign it to that object. And then you want to ask for the summary of that object. And then here we're able to see the additional information that makes sense, that what we would actually want. So up at the top, you'll see here is the formula that you used, and basically just reiterating to you what it was that you did. It includes your residuals, your residuals there, and then the coefficients. So our intercept being 83,450, and then a degree length as it sounds like moving from 2 to 4 years. Or here we can actually, let's use our new variable that we use. So degree_num, just it'll be a little bit easier to interpret, I think. So moving from a 2 to a 4-year college seems to non-significantly impact your mid-career pay. So you can see that as you increase in degree numbers from that 1 to 2 that we had, that it is non-significant. There is, let's see, I know we had a little bit of trouble with SJPlot in the past, so let's see what other table making regression things there are. So making regression
Cable?
tables. What?
Oh, cable?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, cable's one. I've been wanting to use this. I think it's GT. This is like kind of in the tidyverse. Like I said, Stargazer was one. How does cable, do you just do cable reg 1?
Yeah, you need to download the knitter. I have it up here. Cable or cable extra is the package you need to install. Or cable extra will do. And the thing with cable is it doesn't look particularly nice in our markdown, but then when you knit it, it looks nice.
So cable requires knitting to work.
I know, like if you run it right now, then it'll.
It said no. It said
What?
I can't do that.
It let me. I don't know. Maybe it didn't.
Do I have to use the summary?
I just did cable reg 1 digits equals 2. It doesn't matter. We don't have to cable if it's being wonky.
Get out of here, cable.
Anyway, I'm mostly a fan of it. I mean, I guess this is the larger point of R is people find stuff that they learned early on and that works for them and they keep it, but everyone's is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I like cable even though it can be a pain because I'm used to it.
Yeah, cable is a nice, and it's one that is often suggested. Like I said, I've used Stargazer before, so let's give that a shot. I just found that. So install.packages, Stargazer, all lowercase, and hopefully this doesn't give any throw any messages for other folks as SJPlot did. So up in the library section, I'm going to comment out cable. You don't need to comment them out. It's just to show. So then we have Stargazer, and I'm going to go back down to our regression and take a look at, it looks like you can just say Stargazer and then the type. Let's just see. Yeah. So Stargazer reg 1. And it's going to give you some HTML output, which this is one of the reasons why I ended up getting away from Stargazer. I realize now as we're doing this. Yeah, let's see.
So if it's HTML and you're doing it in R Markdown, will it like work when you knit your document together?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So it's not that it's not working right now. It's just not showing up for like the purposes of just kind of showing.
Exactly. Yeah. And we can try to use when you don't. Yeah, that's a good question in the chat about if you don't use a package. They are like, so the packages when you download them are very small, and it doesn't really it won't take up a lot of space and you can leave them. I usually do. You can remove them if you want. That's up to you though. So let's go back to, I'm going to load SJPlot again, just to show what this can look like once you find one that works well for you. So we have SJPlot installed, and what I'm going to be doing is just taking this sjt.lm, and you can actually export these as a Word document, so that then it's easy to put right into your document. So we have sjt.lm. Oh, and it looks like that has, this is the other thing that gets tricky with packages that are being updated, that sometimes they change the way that it's worded. And that's why it's good to go back to the source, which is the SJPlot website. And go into regression tables. And let's see what that looks like. So it is tab_model. Let's see what that does. There we go. So it gives you all your like R squared, it highlights things in good, nice format, and you're able to then export that if you need to, or you can take a screenshot of it. Usually what I do, let's see what happens then when so I know we're right here towards the end. I'm going to try to knit this. You don't need to do this. It's just more of like, I'm going to try it, see what happens. Most of the time my dogs do not like that we're ending. They're very upset, as am I. This was a lot of fun. This is what I often will share with folks that I'm working with. You can customize this then after you work on it, but it has everything that we have worked on. It has all of our outputs right there, ready to go. Things that you're able to share a lot easier, maybe with someone that you're working with that just hasn't worked in R, but you want to share this information. And this, using R Markdown, then is also how you can write entire APA manuscripts in R, where you have one of the really nice things that you can do, just as we're wrapping up. Right here, the reason why it's very nice to have to have the code chunks, and then you can say results indicate that number of years in degree, and then you can actually put in the actual finding that you had. So our beta value equals, and then let's see, so our reg 1, I'm just trying to do this quickly. So we have, when you're typing in text, you have to use the back tick and then the letter R to let it know, hey, I want you to pull something from R. And you can say reg 1 $coefficients. And then because it's even in coefficients, I think that's what is the degree underscore num. Followed up with another backtick. And then if we knit this again, thought it was going to work, but it didn't.
Yeah, and Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, but knitting, like part of the thing with knitting is it runs everything again. So some things, so for me, it wouldn't knit originally, and I was like, why is this? It's because I did certain things out of order. So it was telling
Mm-hmm.
me that it didn't have the library because it was rerunning it as if it was fresh.
Exactly. So it runs it from start to finish, top to bottom. Let's see.
Yeah, which is why if you're ever doing a long project, you want to sweep up first and then rerun everything, so it makes sense that it's done in order.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if that's
Let me just see. This is like, okay, this isn't going to work. I thought I was going to be able to amaze folks, but it's not working. Not working for me. But the idea behind this is, say you're running lots of regressions or you're doing t-tests, that you're able to include it and say, this is what my beta value is. And then maybe your advisor later on is like, oh, you should have added gender in as a covariate, which often happens, or you should have done this, or you should have done that. And you can then, in our linear model, you can then add in by adding additional coefficients here and saying, like, maybe it matters what the in-state tuition is. And then when you rerun and you knit everything, this number will also update. So you never have to worry about your stats being misplaced, because that's one of the most frequent things that happens is you don't copy and paste correctly, or you forget to update when you added a covariate or you removed it or whatever. There is I think it's called Tidy Stats, is a new integration into word processor. So you can actually do the same thing where you import all of the stuff that you did in R, and then you can just pull in the information. So it will do that for you, and you don't have to worry about, did I miss the decimal point or something, and then a reviewer's like, reject. But we are right at the end. I really appreciate all of those who attended live and who are watching this in the future. This is so much fun for Kate and I to be able to do, and I'm really glad we were able to do it, and we look forward to continuing to be a future resource. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions or comments or thoughts that you have. But thank you all. We'll end the recording, and then we can stick around for folks that are live. But yeah, thank you. Kate, is there anything else that you'd like to add, and any well wishes to folks?
I think just the demonstration at the end of trying a bunch of things and having a lot of them not work is I'll tell Mowgli, they say goodbye. He seems uninterested, but it's not your fault. Is that, like, I don't know, for me, I had to learn all, like, I had to submit these assignments on Saturdays, and so it was like a really crash course 15 hours for me every week. Um, which was a lot. But it did give me some R resilience. And it gets more fun. It, like, honestly, it does get more fun. And it's helpful when you have people you can ask questions to. So having Justin around, and if it's a much easier question, I can maybe help with it. But we really appreciate you guys being here, and it's been really fun.
And share your successes with us too. Take screenshots of the things that you did and share them with us, either on email or Twitter too. We love seeing that. That's the most fun. And usually I run out to my wife and tell her things, and she's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm so proud of my art, like my like knitted PDFs from my class. Like, I wish I had put them on the fridge, except for the one that I got a really bad grade on.
Yeah,
but that was in the beginning. So would love to share that excitement with other people.
Definitely. Well, thank you, and follow us on Twitter, can_grad. Check out our podcast, and we might be doing this other times too. Who knows?
I'm definitely going to do that, Hannah. 100%.